Do your students grumble when it comes time to practice writing? Is getting them to write an essay about as much fun as getting grapefruit juice in your eye? If so, maybe it's time to try some fun writing activities instead. In this video, I'm going to share 10 of our family's favorite creative writing activities that we use to switch up with our regular curriculum and keep writing fun for everybody. Hi there, I'm Sophie Agbonkhese, creator of mycuprunsover.ca, a place where busy women can find simple and sustainable ideas for their lives, homes, and homeschools. In our family, we have had every sort of attitude towards writing that you can imagine, from people tearing their hair out and slamming doors when they're asked to work on their writing, to the same people at different times, feeling like they're on track to get their 400-page novel done this month. So we have really run the gamut. And what I've found in the past 8 years that we've been homeschooling is that different types of writing activities work for different kids at different times. So we need to constantly be innovating what we're exposing to them to, what we're trying to get them to work on, so that we are challenging new parts of their brain, exposing them to new skills, and working within the different learning styles that are prevalent in each child. So I've put together this list of 10 activities. These are some of our favorite activities that we do in our house. Some of them I implement, and some of them actually come from just ideas that my kids have. But all of them can be adaptable to a wide range of ages and learning styles. You can use them with an individual child or in a family, but you can also use them in a classroom if you're teaching in that kind of a setting. So I'm going to walk you through these 10 ideas just briefly. If you want more information on how to implement each one, please take a look at the accompanying blog post. And at the end of that, you'll find companion files download, which has all of the templates that you might need to implement any of these ideas with absolutely no prep. So, with that, let's get started. The first idea that I want to talk about today is writing a comic book or a graphic novel. So, in this activity, kids can use a template like the one that's shown here, or they can draw their own and create a short story told in picture format with just a few captions or descriptions added to help explain what's going on. Now, what I love about this activity is that kids enjoy it. It really doesn't seem like a writing assignment at all because it's mostly drawing. And at the same time, what we're doing is encouraging them to plan out their story beforehand. There's not a lot of space in a comic strip template or in any kind of comic strip that they are creating themselves. And so they really have to figure out, what do I want to say in this story? What point am I trying to make? What events do I need to get across? And plan out in advance how they're going to do that in the space that they have available before they spend all this time drawing their beautiful pictures. And this is such an important skill that I think we often miss with kids in elementary school and middle school and sometimes even high school. In fact, I think I probably didn't even learn how to write a proper outline until maybe university. But a lot of times when we're writing, we just write whatever comes into our head, and we just, pull some ideas here, pull some ideas there, and hope they all fit together and make some kind of cohesive point. And then when we look back afterwards and try to read it, we realize that, oh, that actually didn't make the point I was trying to make, or maybe it didn't even make any point at all. And so, this practice of learning to outline your writing beforehand and know where you're going to make that point is a really useful skill that kids can pick up through doing comic strip templates. Number two, writing a story together. So, this is something that we've been doing in our family really from day one. I started out doing it with just my first daughter, and then I would do it with my first two daughters. Now I'm doing it with my three children, and they also do it with each other and with friends. So, it's something that's really grown from the very beginning of our homeschooling journey. So, again, whether you're at home or in a classroom or maybe in a co op setting, this can be adapted to work anywhere. You can have two kids working on a project, you could have a group, or you could have, if it's just a parent and child or parent and writing coach, you can work on it together. And in the blog post that goes with this video, I outline three different ways that you might do this. So, first, you can have a collaborative writing approach. So two or more people sitting together and writing the whole story together. So agreeing, everyone can pitch out ideas and we can agree or disagree or talk about those ideas and decide together what we're going to write down. And the kids can take turns acting as the scribe. Um, so this can be really great for consensus building and for brainstorming as a group. But this is not always practical. There's not always enough time to do it this way. And depending on the personalities of the kids, this might not be their favorite way of working together as well. It's generally best if you're going to do this if there can be an adult presence in the room or in the group to sort of help guide things and just help the kids work through any tensions that might come up. Another option is to do consecutive writing, where each person takes a turn writing a part of the story. And the third option is to do concurrent writing. So I'll just give you an example. My kids came up with a story that took a storyline between this herd of dragons, pack of wolves, and I don't know, I don't know what you call a group of dragons, a family of dragons. And they were at war with each other. And they decided, here's the overall story arc of what's going to happen here. But you're going to write the story from the perspective of the wolves, and you're going to write it from the perspective of the dragons. We're going to go away, we're going to do that separately, and we're going to come back and put them together and make it work as a cohesive story. And what's great about this writing activity is that, one, um, writing a whole story can be daunting to kids. So knowing that they're actually working with other people and not having to come up with all the ideas themselves takes a lot of pressure off. Also, they're not the one who has to physically write everything down. So that also relieves some of the burden. And of course, you're learning teamwork and collaboration, which is going to be so important at every stage of their academic lives. Okay, number three, retelling a favorite story. So this is listening to or reading a favorite story and then retelling it or writing it down in their own words. And this works great for any age. I've been doing this with my kids since they were about 4. What we would do back then is we would make a map of the story. So I would get a poster board and I would ask them, okay, what are all the places that are in this story? And so we draw a picture. Okay, here's the house, and here's the pond, and here's the tree. And each of these would be a different scene in the book. And then we'd make little characters. So here's the cat, and here's the pig, and here's the dog. And we would just draw those quickly and cut them out. And then my kids could tell the story using the characters. They'd walk through the map and say, Fat cat was on the mat. She was having a nap. Along came dog. Here's what he said. And it really gave them a visual reminder of the story and helped them to retell it. But you can also do this in so many ways. That works well for younger kids. Older kids might also like that, but they can also just write it down or retell it in their own words. And what's great about this is that writers learn to write by imitating other writers. So reading a favorite story with the goal of committing its key points to memory is such an important step towards becoming a better storyteller. Kids learn how to intuit the elements of a great story by reciting stories that they already love. And this, again, can be adapted for any age range. So, number 4, the end or the new beginning. So, again, we're working with an existing story, something that the student chooses themselves and that they love. And what you're going to have them do is either give the story a new ending or write a sequel to it. And you can help them along with this by asking them questions to get them thinking. So, if they want to rewrite the ending, you can ask them questions like, what did you like about the current ending? Or what didn't you like? What questions were you left with at the end of the book? And what event in the story, if changed, would have resulted in a completely different outcome? And if they're writing a sequel, you might ask them questions like, which characters in this story did you wish had bigger roles? What else might you have liked to know about their sides of the story? Sometimes when we finish a book, we're kind of left wanting more. We want to know, oh, but what happened to that person? Or I really wish that we had heard more about this character's life and how they felt about everything that happened. So you can challenge them to take those things that are on their mind when they finish the story and take that away as a jumping off point for their own sequel or new ending. And one of the things that I love about this idea is that, again, they're not having to do the work of coming up with a totally new concept from scratch, not having to come up with a new world or new characters or new ideas. They're actually taking something that already exists and building on it, which gives them an opportunity to just focus solely on their writing skills. Also, if they're doing an ending or a sequel, it's forcing them to focus on that skill of writing an ending or writing a middle, because a sequel is kind of like a middle. It's not a beginning. And a lot of people, we get good at writing the beginnings of stories, but we really struggle to write the middles and the ends. So this helps them to just hone in specifically on that. Number five, dictating a story. So what this is using something like Google Voice to tell a story without having to actually write it down or type it. And this works really well with younger kids or any kids who are struggling with the writing aspect, like the physical writing aspect of writing, or who aren't yet typing. Sometimes we just want to help them get their ideas out. It's not necessarily about, well, I really want you to learn how to print or to handwrite. It's like, I just want to know what's going on in your head. I want to know what kind of a world you see. And I want to help you bring that world to life. And so to do that, we can sort of remove this whole piece of having to laboriously write out every letter and every word of every sentence, because for a lot of kids, that's just too much. And it really puts some of them off of writing stories. But if we can just dictate into a Google Doc, they can talk as fast as I'm speaking right now. I can't type as fast as I speak. Even when I'm writing blog posts, I usually speak them first and get Google Voice to record them, and then I go back and edit them. And that way I'm able to capture a lot more ideas at once. Another thing that this really helps them work on is their editing, because to be honest, Google Voice isn't the greatest editor. So it doesn't put in punctuation unless you actually stop it and tell it to. So this gives them a chance to go back and correct spelling or incorrect words or add punctuation. And all of that, again, is teaching them skills that they might not necessarily pick up from just a regular writing assignment. Number six, creating Mad Libs. Now, this is so much fun, and I have yet to meet a kid who doesn't love doing Mad Libs. I don't even think I've met an adult who doesn't love doing ad libs. They're so much fun. If you haven't done them before, this is basically how it works. You can make them up from scratch, or what you can do is take a book and just open to any chapter and copy out the first two paragraphs, but you leave out specific words. So you might say, I'm going to take out all the nouns, the adjectives, and verbs, or maybe the adverbs as well. You decide, and you basically write it out as you can see here. So this is just a sample that I've made up. So you write the story and you leave all of these blank spaces and indicate what kind of word goes in that blank space. Now, you can be really specific, like I've been here, and do things like plural noun or mode of transportation, verb, present tense, verb that ends in S. And that just makes the final story a little bit more cohesive. But you don't have to do that. You could say, person, place, thing. You can say descriptive word. You can adapt it and work with kids depending on what level they're at. So this is really fun though for kids to make up for each other and to have them get the other person, another person like a friend or a sibling, to offer them word suggestions, and then fill it in and then read it back to the person. And what's really fun about this is that you get this hilarious story. Nobody can ever just play this once. Everybody wants to keep going. So you have kids writing out these paragraphs from existing works, and you have them practicing their grammatical terms. So they're learning about verbs. Okay, well, why does this verb tense work here? What kind of verb tense would I need for this sentence to sound better? What kind of a noun is this? What kind of a verb is this? And for the person who's offering the suggestions, they're having to come up with, usually they want to come up with the weirdest things possible. So they're really thinking about, okay, what's the silliest noun that I can come up with? What's the funniest place that I can come up with? And this is a perfect skill for people who are going to be writing stories. Okay, number seven is custom printing pages. And this is something that I do with younger children when they're just learning to write or to do cursive. And I know worksheets does not sound like a fun writing activity, but I actually find that this can be quite fun. So there's this website that you can go to. It's worksheetworks.com, and you can create custom writing worksheets. And so you can determine the width, the height of each line. You can decide whether you want it to be tracing or copying. You can see here in the example what it looks like when you pick copying. You can choose whether you want it to be printing or cursive. You can choose how tall you want the lines to be, how light or dark you want the letters to be if they're tracing, and then you type in whatever text you want. And so you can really customize this to the interests of each child. or a group of children. And I have found, I just started doing this with my 5-year-old earlier this year. But whereas before she was just doing, a workbook where she would do, okay, here's a page of A's and we're going to write words that start with A and then here's B's. She's actually writing a story and the story is about her and the story is hilarious. And so she only gets one page of it each day. She's not allowed to do more than that. And so when it comes time to practice her printing, she's actually really excited because she's going to get the next page of her story. And of course, the point of this is to practice printing. That's the main benefit. But it's quite fun, and I think that it also encourages them to start thinking about maybe I could write my own story. Number 8 is photographic writing prompts. Writing prompts that use a picture instead of a question or a story starter. And this idea actually came from one of my readers who requested that we put together a presentation of visual writing prompts. And so in the companion files for this post, you will find 10 pictures, such as the ones that are shown here. These are 2 of them that you can use at home or in the classroom again for any kind of writing prompt exercise. You could use it in a writing center, or as a lot of people use them as warm-ups at the beginning of class. So what you do is just pick a picture that you want kids to start writing based off of, set a timer, and have everyone, even you, write a story inspired by the picture for 15 minutes straight. So for this one, we're not going to do any planning. We're just going to write by the seat of our pants. And when the timer ends, stop writing and give everyone an opportunity to share what they've written if they want to. So, why does this work? I think that images are often more inspiring than words and they leave more room for interpretation. So, for example, you see this picture of a house by a lake, but you're not sort of set off in any direction the way a story starter would. A story starter kind of says, this is who the story is about. This is what's just happened. It sort of sets the tone. Here, we just have a picture. We could interpret this in so many different ways. This could be a scary story. This could be a romantic story. It could be a cozy story. It could be a mystery. It could really be anything. And so, again, we're really encouraging kids with this activity not to focus on planning, not to focus on editing, just to look at a picture and just free write whatever comes to their mind without worrying about ideas or structures. Okay, number 9, convince me. So we all know that kids are really persuasive. They can convince us to do everything. My kids have developed a habit in the past couple of years of putting together PowerPoint presentations when they want to convince us to let them do anything. Here's why we should be able to share a room or not share a room. Here's why we should take this vacation. Here's why you should let us get this pet. They can be very convincing. And this is the kind of writing assignment that we never have to assign them. They just do it on their own. um, so from that, I think we can take that strength that kids have and use it to help them grow in other areas, because writing persuasively is also an important skill to develop. So what we do with this one is we tell kids, I want you to convince me that X, and they can decide what it is, but that they should take their favorite thing and convince you that it's the best. So for example, why Wings of Fire is the best dragon series you'll ever read, or why strawberries are the one fruit that we could all live on. And then as for the format, you can offer suggestions, but I really recommend that you leave it up to them what they want to choose. So they might do an essay or a PowerPoint presentation or a poem, a song, or even a rap would be super fun. They might even decide to create a brochure. So try to put as few limitations on what that looks like and just encourage them to be as creative as possible. And number 10, A is for author. So this is one of my favorite activities to do with a group. Older kids could probably do this on their own, but we like to do this as a family, and it's just so much fun. So what you do is you go outside, either for a walk in sort of a natural area, or into a yard or a field, some place where there's lots of things to observe. You might even do this on a road trip. When you're driving past lots of things and taking everything in. So bring a notebook, bring a pen or a pencil, and you want to record something for every letter of the alphabet. And of course, with some of the harder ones, you want to allow some flexibility. So, for example, you might use excess dandelions for the letter X. It doesn't really matter. The point is to just be observant and look about you, see what's there, write it down. Then wherever you are, or come back to the classroom, come back to the kitchen table, and you're going to put it into a book, and each letter of the alphabet is going to have its own page in the book, and you can decide how big that is. It could be a full page, half page, quarter page, but you want to illustrate the book as well as write text to go with it. So the illustrations could be drawings or they could be photographs. And then for the text, depending on the kids' writing abilities, their ages, their interests, you can sort of work with them to decide how much they want to write. It could be something as simple as C is for crane, D is for dike, E is for eagle. Or it could be more creative. They might write a short poem or a paragraph about each thing, or they might look that thing up online or in a book and write one fact about it. So just decide beforehand with them how much they want to write, and be okay with the fact that they might start out thinking, I'm going to write 2 paragraphs about each thing, and by the end they might just want to write, you know, I don't know. I'll say Z is for zebra, but I doubt you're going to see a zebra on your walk. But definitely, the amount that they're able to write about each thing might dwindle as they go on, and just be prepared for that. Don't force them to keep up at whatever level they set out to do in the beginning. And this is fun for both reluctant writers and eager ones. It takes the focus off writing by including other activities such as walking outside and drawing or taking pictures. But it also gives lots of opportunity for printing practice and composition. Um, it's great for kids who have a lot of energy and need to be outside in order to process things. And it's also a good chance to just hang out together and go for a walk and talk about what you're seeing. So there you have it. Those are our top 10 favorite creative writing exercises. And you can find all of the files to go along with these activities on my website, mycuprunover.ca. And if you just go to this extension, helping kids write, helping-kids-write, you can find all of our resources, including the companion files for these activities. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you click the subscribe button and get all of our new tips on simple and sustainable ideas for your home, homeschool, and life.